everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And this week, special guest is OU women's golfer Reagan Chaney. And Reagan is from Ardmore, Oklahoma. She played high school golf at Plainview High School. She became serious about golf when she was about 11 years old, or in the 7th grade. She won 3 state championships at Plainview and 1 individual state championship. She started her collegiate golf career at Oklahoma City University, and she transferred to Oklahoma her sophomore year. Her favorite memories as a Sooner are just traveling to all of the different tournaments and the cool places that they get to go, which we will discuss more in the episode, and making memories with her teammates. Her favorite sport to watch other than golf is basketball. And you can find Reagan on Twitter, Instagram, and follow her golf adventures, and I will link her username in the show notes. I would like to thank Reagan for taking the time to come on with me on this episode. We had a very good chat. She's such a sweet girl, and she has a lot of great stories to tell. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Reagan Chaney. Well, thank you for joining me. And I know you don't even know me. I just randomly sent you a message and said, hey, we know the same people.
Yes.
I'm just here to talk to women athletes and women in different capacities of OU sports. So I appreciate you coming on.
Of
And
course.
so you're from my hometown and we don't even know each other, which is crazy.
Yes.
So you said that you started out at
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you ended up there and then ended up at OU.
Yeah, so I committed really young. The coach there started recruiting me pretty young as well. So I ended up committing right after my sophomore year.
Oh, wow.
And it felt like it was going to be a good fit. A lot of my friends from junior golf were going, a couple of my high school teammates. So I thought it was really going to work out. When I got there, I played really well, luckily. I worked hard, I played well. Yeah, I had a good freshman year. I won 3 tournaments. I was the national runner-up, and things went pretty well. I started my sophomore year at OCU as well, and my coach, we actually had a coaching change in the middle of the fall season.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that's kind of when I decided, like, yeah, I think I want to switch things up and started looking at my options. So I got released, and I always wanted to go to OU. I kind of reached out to Coach V first, and yeah, she was super welcoming and was excited to talk to me, so it just kind of ended up working out that way, but it's been good.
Awesome. That's perfect. Well, you said you grew up an OU fan, so obviously,
Yes.
like you said, you always wanted to go there, so it's kind of like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So tell me, like you guys, so you play in the fall and the spring also, like kind of tell me what your schedule's like and all the different places that you go.
Yeah, so we start up pretty quick, usually around the end of August, beginning of September, and that kind of gets us going. And then we play until the end of October to early November. And November to when we come back in January is really our off season. But we have a really good fall schedule. We start the year at Pebble Beach in California.
Nice.
That's really nice. And then we come back to Norman and we host at Belmar,
Okay,
which is
yes.
really cool. Hosting's always fun.
Yes.
So we do that, and then this year we went to Tulsa's tournament in at Cedar Ridge, and then we go down to Jim West at San Marcos,
Okay.
and then we finished up at the Charles Schwab in Fort Worth. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
and then
familiar with that one.
yes, the spring season's more of the busy season. We started pretty quick this year. Our first tournament was the first week of February. And we've had a really good spring travel season as well, or travel year as well. So we started in Boca Raton, and we won that tournament, so that was cool.
Nice. Yeah.
And then we went to Sarasota, Florida, and then we went to Arizona 2 weeks ago, and we just got back from UT in
Oh, yes.
Austin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you get to go to some warmer areas when it's
Yeah.
not so warm here. So that's definitely nice. What's your favorite place that you've been so far?
I really like Pebble. I mean, the whole week there is just a really cool experience. We stay at Pebble Beach,
That's
so
awesome.
it's nice to stay in the resort and kind of look at everything and just do all of that. And yeah, it's just a really fun tournament.
That's cool. Well, I am definitely not a golfer at all. My dad was a golfer, so I used to frequent the golf course with him. So I'm a little familiar with golf as a whole, but just
Yeah.
not individually. But so how young were you when you started playing?
I started playing when I was 11. I was going into
Okay.
the 7th grade. So Yeah.
So I know a couple of girls that play at Plainview now, and I kind of follow her. I've known her parents. Her parents are my age. So I kind of follow her. It's just really cool to see somebody that I kind of have a connection with that I'm following. So now that I've connected with you, I'll definitely enjoy keeping up with you guys. But so y'all had a good spring break down in Austin, and
Yes.
where are you headed to next after that?
We are going to Georgia.
Okay, Georgia.
So
Okay.
we go to Georgia and then we're home for a couple days and then it's time for SECs. So that's back in
Nice.
Florida.
Okay, awesome. Well, this being the first year in the SEC, how does that compare to any previous experiences or conferences that you've dealt with?
Yeah, being in the SEC is really cool, but mostly for golf, like our regular season doesn't change a whole lot.
Hmm.
It's more the conference championship. So at the Big 12s, it's 3 rounds of stroke play. In SECs, it's 3 rounds of stroke play and then match play.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a cool switch.
Are there more teams in the SEC than there were in the Big 12, or is it pretty comparable?
It's pretty comparable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's really neat to see. I just watched gymnastics compete in the SEC championship, and, Texas doesn't have gymnastics. So we were like the new member, going into the
Yes.
SEC. Does Texas, I guess Texas plays golf, obviously.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, anyway, it's just been kind of interesting to see how we've integrated in with all the different sports because everything is so different. So that's
Yeah.
neat. So you go to Georgia next. When do you go to Georgia?
We leave for Georgia April 5th or
Oh,
April
okay.
6th.
So
Yeah.
you got a week or so to chill. Okay. Well, I'm sure you're glad that the winter weather has gotten behind us here at
Yes.
home.
Very grateful.
What do you do like if it's cold or wet or icy here in Oklahoma? How do you go about that for practice and things?
So we just got a brand new indoor facility.
Okay.
And that has 6 hitting bays that open up out to the range.
Oh,
And then
nice.
it has a simulator and then it has a big putting green and a putting lab. So when it's really
Okay.
cold or rainy, we go in there.
Is it like similar to a Top Golf type setup or
Kind of. Like the
kind of?
hitting bays, kind of. It's just all on the one level.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. I know I've wondered what you guys do because you can't just, not do anything because it's cold
Yeah.
or wet or whatever. So, okay. So like you said your favorite thing is traveling. So what would be like your favorite thing if you didn't get to travel for golf? Just what's your favorite thing in general just about playing golf?
But just spending time with my teammates. I mean, we're all best friends. I mean, on and off the golf course. I live
That's
with one of my
good.
teammates
Okay.
and we are just always hanging out and having a good time. So they definitely make the experience the best. And yeah, that's my favorite part.
That's good. That's awesome. I mean, obviously you need to get along because you're together a whole lot.
Yeah.
How many are on the team?
Right now we have 7.
Oh, okay. So it's a
Yeah,
pretty small
so
team. Okay.
very small, but yeah, it's been fun.
Okay. And your coach's name is?
Coach V, we call her Coach V.
Okay, Coach V. I like to reach out to these coaches that have sports that sometimes kind of get overlooked. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, not everybody's going to follow golf like they do football or so on.
exactly.
But I think it's cool to highlight those sports and, you as an athlete because you guys put in a lot of work regardless of whether you're getting all the attention that you should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
What's a typical day for you, like a schedule? Is it usually pretty early of a morning and a long day? Or, I mean, I guess it varies by season, but what's a pretty typical day for you?
So 3 days a week we work out in the
Okay.
morning. So I'll go through a workout day. So we work out at 7:50 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday
Okay.
most of the time, unless travel kind of changes that.
Hmm.
So we work out at 7:50 and then usually that ends around 8:30 and we kind of go to breakfast every once in a while. Some people have class, so that just kind of depends. I have breakfast and then kind of come home, get ready for the day, do some homework, and then I go out to the golf course around noon. Usually a few of us will eat lunch at the golf course. So we have lunch and then like practice starts at 2.
Okay.
And so I'll kind of do what I need to do, have team practice. We'll go through that. Sometimes it's on the course, sometimes we have some drills out on the range or on short game. So we do that and then I like to play. So I'll go play some holes in the evening or maybe work on some things on the range if not, but that's about normal. And then after that, usually several of us will go eat dinner together as well. So we'll go have dinner and then come home and do some homework and that's about every day.
Okay. I mean, so it's a pretty early morning and a long day for you. Do you guys
Yes.
have a lot of interaction with like the boys golf
Yeah,
team
so
or okay.
yeah, we all practice at the same facility,
Okay.
usually around the same time of day, so we're pretty much all out there together most of the time.
Okay. Are there about seven of the boys as well
The
or
boys are a
okay.
little bigger. They have
Okay.
12.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I follow you guys on social media, and I have, because if OU plays it, I follow it. But again, I'm not like super familiar and up to date in my brain, just keeping up with everything. So, how are you guys looking right now, like with your standings so far in the season? Like, are you pleased with how you guys are performing?
Yeah, we've been playing pretty well. We won our first tournament this spring, and the rest we finished in the top five. So, pretty solid year so far. We're a pretty salty group. So, I think that moving into the postseason, we'll play pretty solid. I have faith in my teammates. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I think that we should have a solid into the year. We're hosting
Good.
regionals too, which is nice.
That's awesome. When is
Yeah,
that?
that's the beginning of May.
Beginning of May. Okay. Okay, well, that's awesome that you guys are getting to host because
Yes.
that'll make a big difference. And so, what's the next step after that? If you guys win and progress on, where would you go next? Do you know yet, or
So
how's
if
that
you
determined?
qualify at regional, so the top five teams at each regional site go to nationals,
Okay,
and that's in the middle of May.
okay,
So yeah, if you get top five at regionals, you're going to nationals.
awesome. Is
Yeah.
that a predetermined location, or do you know yet where that will
Yes,
be?
that's in California.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So the next month or so, you guys will still be, trying to qualify and make it through your regionals. Okay. Well, I'll have to watch and see where you guys end up.
Yes.
How does it work, like for somebody that wants to come be like a spectator? Is it like what you see on TV at a professional tournament? Like people can just kind of line around the hole and
Yeah.
okay.
So for us, it's free. I mean, anyone can come watch. So they just kind of walk the holes, and you can come just stand anywhere around, really, and just watch us play.
Okay, cool. Good to know. I don't know if I would be a good candidate for a golf spectator because I'm usually not very quiet.
That's all right.
But I mean, if you guys once you've hit it in the hole, like you want everybody to cheer for you, like hey,
Yeah.
I hit
Yes.
hit par or whatever. So yeah, so that's another thing that I try to understand. But the scoring has always confused the heck out of me. Was that something that was hard for you to learn, or did it just you just kind of picked it up naturally as throughout the years?
It, it wasn't too hard for me to learn. So my dad's a golf pro, so I kind of
Okay.
always grew up at the golf course. But as you're playing, that's something that just kind of you pick up pretty quickly because it's just like a normal part of golf.
Yeah.
So for people playing, it's a little bit easier. Everyone that I've talked to that doesn't play golf, that's what confuses them the most.
I know what par is, an under par, over par, but the
Yes.
birdie and bogey and what are the other ones?
Eagle, and then
Eagle. Okay.
yeah, a hole in one.
Hole in one,
But
yes.
yeah, so basically a birdie is one under like the holes par, and a
Hmm.
bogey is one over the holes par, and then you can have like a double bogey, a triple bogey,
Oh
and that's
gosh.
just basically two or three more over the par.
Okay, interesting. That would definitely confuse me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up going to the golf course with my dad, but I didn't really ever try to learn it, so I have no clue. But I used to try to help him, keep score on the scorecard and everything. And I
Hmm.
remember he kept a golf ball that he had hit his lowest score ever, and it was a 68. And he was so proud, he wrote with a Sharpie on the golf ball 68 and kept it. And I actually still have it. My dad since passed away, but I
Yeah.
still have that golf ball because he was so proud of it.
That's awesome.
So, what's a typical score range for a golfer on a typical day?
I mean, normally just somewhere around par, a couple under, a couple over, give or
Yeah.
take, but yeah, I mean anything around par is pretty typical.
And every course is different with whatever par is. It just kind of
Yes.
fluctuates depending on where you are. So, what's the hardest course that you've ever played?
Well, the hardest course, UT played pretty tough. The conditions were pretty hard, but
Was it windy down there?
it was extremely windy.
Okay.
Yes, extremely. Um, Man, that's a tough question. Man.
Or on the flip side, what would be the easiest course that you feel like that you've played?
That's also a tough question. I would say the hardest that I've played recently was UT. Just the conditions that made things tough.
That makes sense.
But then on like the flip side, there are some days, a lot of it's condition based, I think,
That
because
makes
some
sense.
days like I'll play a course that would be a little bit easy on the easier side, and it's playing really hard,
Hmm.
and then some days it'll be playing super easy. So it really just depends.
That makes sense. Like, obviously, playing in the wind would be difficult,
Yeah.
especially if you're hitting against it. That would totally make sense.
Yes, and
So,
sometimes
okay,
the greens will be fast and firm, and that makes things a lot trickier.
that makes sense. Okay. So, what would be your advice to someone who wants to play golf at the level that you're at, like at a collegiate level at a D1 school? What would be your advice to someone that's maybe getting started at an early age?
I would say at an early age, just have fun, see if you love it, because I think loving golf is a big part of being good. I mean, it takes a long time and you spend a lot of time practicing, so it's a lot easier to practice something you love doing. And that's what I would say is just if you love it, then you're set.
That makes sense. I mean, like you said, you spend a lot of time, it becomes your life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you better enjoy the golf course or you're going to be miserable.
Yes. Yeah, I love the golf course. I could spend all day there, but
I think my typical, if I say, oh, this is good golf weather, a typical day would be, in the States when it's sunny and not too windy. And like it's one of those days like patio weather, like you
yeah.
enjoy being outside. If they could all be like that, it sure would be nice.
Oh, yes, it would be brilliant.
So you said that you won 3 state team championships
Yes,
at
so I
Plainview.
won, yes, at Plainview. We had one, my junior year was canceled because of COVID. So
Yeah.
we won 3 for 3, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
that's really good. So where did you play the state championship at?
So my freshman year was at Lake Hefner in Oklahoma
Okay.
City. And then my sophomore and senior year were at Westwood in Norman.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
COVID. It sure
Yeah,
did affect a lot, didn't it? So what
it
year did you
did.
graduate?
I graduated in 2021.
21. All right. Well, at least you got your senior year to be somewhat normal, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so going forward after this season, do you have one more year of eligibility left or
Right now, I'm a senior, so we're still kind of waiting to see on if I do have another year, but yeah, just kind of playing it by ear,
yeah. Okay.
going with the flow.
So what's kind of your goals after when your time does come for
So I
graduation?
kind of created my own major in a way. With my transfer, I lost a lot of credits. So at OCU, I was in health and exercise science, and now I'm kind of doing more of a broad form of health. But I would like to play golf for a little while longer after I graduate, and then maybe look into coaching a bit. So
Oh,
yeah.
well, I think that says a lot. I've talked to some other athletes about this. I think it says a lot about your coaches that you've had and your current coaches that's something that you want to pursue yourself. So that's really cool.
Hey.
Well, what is something that you would say if they want to come be a spectator to see you guys, they just show up and they can walk the holes and check it out?
Yes,
Okay.
we want everyone to come. A bigger crowd makes it more fun.
Okay. Awesome. Good to know. Well, thank you for chatting with me today. I like to get all the different aspects from all the sports, and so now we've learned a little more about being a golfer at OU. So
Yes,
I appreciate you coming on with me.
of course.
Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that awesome conversation with Reagan Chaney. And it is time for this week's Sooner Headlines of the Week. And I have a very special guest that's joining me this week, and that is why I'm dressed like this, which you will see in a minute. But welcome to my husband Eric, the Poke. And I wore this. If you're not watching the video, you're totally missing out, even though I will put a clip on social media. But so last week was my birthday, and Eric got me this crazy like blanket thing. I posted a picture on social media, but I had to wear it today because we're talking about Bedlam softball that happened last week on my birthday. It was in Oklahoma City at Hall of Fame, Devon Park, and we went.
We did.
And I had fun. I think I had a little more fun than he did just because of the turnout of the game. But we had a great day. We went up to Oklahoma City and met up with my KREF friends, Travis Davison and Tyler McComas at Woodworks Distillery, and had a few drinks before the game and hung out with them and had a great time.
That was my favorite part.
That was his favorite part.
Well, and the first through third innings.
He loves distilleries, so when I saw that my KREF buds were going to be there before the game, I knew we had to go. So I'm getting really hot in this thing, so let's get our softball discussion going. Okay, so Bedlam softball, OU walk-off, run rule win. For my birthday, it honestly doesn't get any better than that. Sorry, Hottie. So yeah, the first couple innings were rough. We had a lot of field errors, couldn't really get the bats going, and I thought, man, this is going to be a long night. And
I did too.
Poor Eric, if we're being honest, what do I always say?
She always says that I would rather OSU lose than have to drive home with this one.
That's true. He would rather his own team lose than have to deal with me on the drive home.
And I plead the fifth on that every time it's ever brought up, by the way.
He totally agrees with it. But anyway, so it was a great game. For me, after the third inning, I keep meaning to go back and watch the broadcast because Michelle Smith tends to totally change her demeanor depending on if OU is winning or losing. So I'm sure she was enjoying herself because she is a former Poke on the broadcast the first couple innings. And then I'm sure she didn't really enjoy the last couple of innings. But I never did go back and listen to that. But we had a great Sooner win. What were your thoughts on your team?
Well, we definitely know that we're missing Lexi. And Ruby's done a good job for us, but we're struggling in the pitching, with that loss and a couple others. So for us, we just really need to get out of our slump. We usually do this. I think it's the loyal and true Oklahoma State way. So we need to get out of this slump. I think we're 6-6 right now, and so we need to be able to do what we do best and come back so we can make it into the World Series. I know that we're still ranked, but we've got to figure out how to finish out a game. I mean, you guys did 11 unanswered points.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we've got to do better at that. But for your Sooner Girl Sports Pod, it was a good game to speak on. So,
but we were a part of history that night because
9,200 people,
92.55 attendance record for the NCAA regular season for our 11-3 walk-off run roll win in Bedlam on my birthday. It will not quickly be forgotten. So OU Texas at Hall of Fame, I believe it was last year, maybe the year before, we held the previous regular season record. And so it's pretty cool that as OU fans, we hold the top two attendance records for regular season. That's not including postseason because the World Series has the outfield bleachers, but they did open the upper deck for Bedlam, and it was full. It was awesome. It was really cool.
It's really cool to have that for two Oklahoma teams.
Yeah, it really is. And so you're welcome for getting to be a part of that with us. I'm so kind. Aren't we glad to share that with our pokes? I'm sure they'll love being
It was a good thing for Oklahoma.
Being a part of that. Yes, indeed, it was. So yeah, we had a great game, and Maya Bland has been a hero for us Sooner fans the last couple of games, not only in the Bedlam game, but yesterday at Alabama. And so we're recording this on Sunday afternoon before OU plays game 2 in Tuscaloosa, so I will not have an outcome of that series on this pod. But maybe she'll be a hero again. And unfortunately for the Pokes, they had a weekend series against Iowa State in Stillwater. And you guys are kind of riding in the middle of the pack as far as the Big 12 goes right now. Iowa State, I believe, is in second place in the Big 12 right now. And Oklahoma State is kind of in the middle, like 6th, 7th spot. After this weekend, that may change depending on how the other teams did. You may drop a little bit, but you did drop the series to Iowa State. But I'm sorry for you. I mean, I laugh at the team because I can't help it. But speaking of laughing at teams, what can we always agree on? Horns down always, baby. Tennessee took the series from Texas in Austin today. Texas did take one game from them, game 1 on Friday, and then Tennessee took the game on Saturday and Sunday in Austin. So if anything we can agree on, it's this.
Yep.
Horns down.
That's right.
Tennessee took the series from Texas. Orange down always, baby. Thank you for joining me for a brief Bedlam talk in your orange. I let him wear orange just for this brief segment. So.
And maybe I can hop back in after Tuesday.
What's Tuesday? Oh, Bedlam Baseball! Yes. Okay, so by the time this episode drops, we will have attended Bedlam Baseball, which is in Stillwater on Tuesday night, the 15th. So, yeah, maybe next week you can hop back on and do a little Bedlam Baseball recap.
Yep.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks for joining me. I'm going to take off this sweatshirt and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm covered in fuzzies from my hoodie, but I just felt like it was only appropriate for me to wear that, considering we were talking about my birthday and the Bedlam win, and I made my husband come on and sit here so I could make fun of him for a couple minutes, but wasn't it fun? So a little more on my end from Bedlam softball last week. So it really was a cool day. Again, shout out to my friends Tyler McComas and Travis Davison from KREF, who broadcasted at Woodwork Distillery that day, and they gave me some awesome goodies. For my birthday, you may have seen it online, they gave me an OU baseball growler, a couple of OU baseball glasses, and a super cool autographed Skip Johnson baseball, SEC baseball. I already have it in a little case on a shelf over here. So I'm very thankful to my sweet friends for making my birthday special that day. And again, it was really cool to be a part of history in that attendance record that day, and 2 Oklahoma teams just battling it out and representing the state, and just being a part of history just for women's sports and propelling the sport of softball in the world of sports is just a very special thing to be a part of, and that was super cool to get to do that. We had 2 incredible at-bats in 2 innings from Maya Bland. Again, like I mentioned earlier, she's really done a lot the last couple of games to help us win. And we had an 8-pitch walk that led to a 2-run 3rd inning with Cassidy Pickering's 2-run homer, and then we had a 3-run home run to take the lead in the 4th, and we ended up scoring those 11 unanswered runs in Bedlam and took the game in 5. So again, shout out to my husband for being a good sport, because y'all all know that I wouldn't be that good of a sport about it, but he really is. And it was an excellent game, and the Sooner ladies, we just do what we know that they always do. They answered, they got punched in the teeth, as Kenzie Hansen said, and they came back and played, and they just showed up. And that's kind of what happened in Alabama in game 1 of that series in Tuscaloosa. They were down 1-0 going into the bottom or the top of the 7th, and they just came out, and Sam Landry pitched a gem and got them set down. We got back up to the plate, and Maya Bland hit a home run, and off we go, and we ended up winning that game in the 7th inning. It was incredible. I do anticipate this series will be one for the books. I'm hoping to take game 2 today so we can secure the series in Tuscaloosa. We do not have a midweek game coming up this week for softball. They come back from Alabama. It's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series, so game 3 will be on Monday. It will be completed by the time this episode drops, and then they have Mississippi State at home next weekend. Game 1 on Friday night is at Devon Park Hall of Fame Stadium, and the games 2 and 3 will be at Loves Field in Norman. So we will be glad to welcome back Samantha Ricketts, the head coach at Mississippi State, who is a former Sooner softballer. So I'm sure that they will do something special for her, and maybe Tyler McComas will even have her on his podcast Diamond Envy this week as his special guest. I can't wait to see. Again, I just want to give a special shout out to Sam Landry, who is 12-2 on the season. She earned that Bedlam win. She only allowed 3 runs on 5 hits and 4 strikeouts. Pickering and Bland hit home runs. Parker went 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs, and we just rallied in that run rule win. Ella Parker is just really showed out at the plate in the last several games. After she had that grand slam at home just a little over a week ago, every time she's come to the plate, she's hit RBI doubles. She's 3 for 3 with a pair of RBIs at the plate. For the second time in 4 days, Maya Bland delivered the home run. And this team has just really been fun to watch. You know, just kind of when we felt like they were in a slump, they've really come back out and showed us what they're made of. So on to football. This past week, we heard the devastating news of the death of Patrick Fletcher, who is a former Sooner quarterback in 1998 through 2000, and he was the quarterback when I was in college at OU, and he was a member of the 2000 championship team. I have not heard the cause of his death revealed yet, but it's still so sad to hear someone of that age, you know, he was around 45, 46 years old, to lose their life. And so the OU community, J.D. Runnels, Bob Stoops, and several other former players have sent out their condolences on social media this past week for Patrick Fletcher. And again, we don't know a cause of death for him, but it's just a super sad thing to hear for Sooner Nation, to hear the passing of Patrick Fletcher. Giovanni Gibson did have an injury earlier this week in spring practice, and I don't know about y'all, but the wide receiver core, we've just really struggled, and I just couldn't help but think, are you serious? Like, here we go again with the wide receiver injuries. Like, we cannot do this again. Like, what are we doing? But he was present at the Crimson Combine yesterday on Saturday, which I will talk more about here briefly in a moment. But he was there. He had a cast on his leg. He had surgery just right after that injury took place. He was there, had his leg propped up, and we did get a little piece of good news yesterday in the post-combine presser from Coach Venables, who said that if everything goes as planned and stays on track, that it is possible that Giovanni Gibson could be ready to go by the beginning of the season. If not week 1, maybe just, a couple of games in, and not looking at more of a long-term injury. Said it did resemble the injury that Kendall Doby had, but it was not as serious. So that was definitely good news to hear. Okay, let's talk about the Combine. So you released their official attendance for the Combine on Saturday, and it was 16,316 people. And I'm not gonna lie, okay, this is coming just completely from me. I did not listen to anyone else's opinions on the Combine before recording this. I wanted to listen to George and Eddie on Sooner Scoop. I know they did like a post-game scoop, like they normally do after a game. I did not get to listen to that, so I'm very curious to listen to what they had to say, but these are just my opinions. Okay, so just from someone who, I've never attended any sort of practice or anything before, and so I didn't really know what to expect. Of course, I've also seen the videos and everything on social media, but didn't know what to expect going into the Combine. So, we get there, the gates open at noon, the Combine started at 1 technically, and they were running drills and doing things. There were some action as far as getting to see John Mateer throw some passes and some good catches, and seeing him connect with Deion Burks was really a sight for sore eyes, if we're being honest. That was something that really just made me a little excited for the fall, to see that on the field. And anytime I get an opportunity to go into the football stadium, I'm not going to turn it down. I don't care what they're doing. So I didn't know what to expect, like I said, going in. And I think that some people may have been a little bored with the drills, because, it's just kind of difficult to get into it when there's not a lot at stake, I guess, so to speak, and you're trying to watch and see what's going on and see, what we've got on the table, but they're also not putting a lot out there. And so it was nice to see some of that action where we saw the connection between John Mateer and Burks, and it, like I said, it was definitely a sight for sore eyes. So I was very glad to get to see that. It was a really cool time. I'll put some photos up here on the video for those of you watching. If you're listening on the podcast app, you can head over to any of my social media accounts at Sooner Girl Pod, and you can see the photos. I went down on the field and got a whole poster full of autographs from many of the players. I can't even begin to name them all because I'm going to forget, but Deion Burks, R. Mason Thomas, John Mateer, Taylor Rhyme. But I stood there in line and held my little poster out, and they were just coming by and signing. And they were also kind, also grateful for our support and our attendance for the Combine. And I was able to snap a selfie with John Mateer. So that was really cool. He was so sweet. And again, I'll post that up here on the video for those of you watching, and you can catch those on my social media if you would like to see them if you're listening on a podcast app. Shameless plug again for my social media at Sooner Girl Pod. I'm across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Substack, all the things. You can go and see those photos. So again, I'm not going to really get into the weeds a lot about the Combine and the X's and O's of what I saw, because it was really kind of hard to get into it, because it was basically like a glorified practice. However, it was a beautiful day. It was great weather. It wasn't too hot. I did climb up to the top and sit in the shade to get a good view of the field, and it was an incredible day. A little windy, but I was thankful for the breeze. And as I'm climbing up to the top of a section 2, I look over to the tailgate area, and I see my friends, Senior OU of KC and his wife, and OU Minnie and her husband. So shout out to them. Senior did come up and say hello to me and Eric. Again, I took a photo with him, so I will put that up on the video for anyone who wants to see it, and it's on my social media. He is such a nice guy. I have met him and his wife and OU Minnie at a softball game a few weeks ago, and then again at a baseball game, I believe, and another softball game with OU Mini last week, and they are just so kind. They're such good people, so I am thankful that they recognized me from social media and said hello and gotten to get to know them. So shout out to them. Our men's basketball, it's been an interesting week. We have 5 Sooners that are set to return next season who made an announcement on social media this past week. A couple of those obviously were not a surprise, but the portal has been active, and like I've talked about in the last couple of weeks, we've lost some, but we got 2 great catches from the portal this past week that I'm very excited about. So our 2 players from last season that played that are coming back next year on the roster are Dayton Forsyth and Mo Wegg. We have 2 injured last season, Jeff Nwankoo and Jaden Jones. I apologize if I just butchered that name. But those 2 guys were injured last season. They did not get to play, but they are coming back to OU. They officially announced on social media this week. We do have 1 redshirt, Kual Atok. He's a forward, and he announced also that he's coming back next year as well. And from the portal this past week, we got Tay Davis from Notre Dame. He was number 3 availability at the time of his commitment, according to 247 Sports. So pretty exciting about that. Seems like a great catch. And then we also were able to get guard Nigel Pack from Miami. He was the number 1 available point guard at the time of his commitment, according to 247 Sports. So 2 great catches in the portal for Porter Moser this week, and there's been some rumblings that he is on the move, and we may have a couple more commits coming up this following week, so I'll be excited to see what our basketball guys have in store this coming week. Our women's gymnastics have been preparing for the national tournament that starts in Fort Worth this Thursday, so be on the lookout for them. I believe they are in the Thursday evening session this coming Thursday the 18th, and same for our men's gymnastics. Their NCAA starts on Friday. So be on the lookout for their schedules. It'll be on social media. I will post it on my social medias if you want to follow our gymnastics teams as they start the national championship semifinals later this week. They will hopefully make the top 6 and will then move on to the later rounds later in the weekend and be able to compete for the national championship. So fingers crossed, and Boomer Sooner. Good luck to Mark Williams, who was on the show last week, the men's gymnastics coach. Such a sweet guy. Just truly one of the best humans. Amazing coach. If you missed that episode last week, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to it because he was so much fun to listen to, and he's an excellent coach. It was just great to listen to his stories and talk about the guys, and especially good timing with them heading into the national championship to get a little more and visit on the gymnastics team. Our baseball boys, they got throttled in their midweek by DBU this past week at home, which sadly was kind of expected, but they were coming off of a rough week last weekend with LSU, but they have totally redeemed themselves this weekend at home with Vandy, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. They are in the middle of game 3 right now. As I'm recording, I don't have an outcome of that, but they won Friday night and they won Saturday. So we have secured the series win over Vandy. So I'm very excited about that. Kyson Witherspoon pitched a shutout on Saturday afternoon at the L Dale, and also there was a baseball attendance record set on Saturday at L Dale Mitchell Park. It was 5,100 and some change, but 5,100 people showed out to the L Dale Mitchell ballpark on Saturday afternoon to support the baseball guys, and that is absolutely incredible. So if you headed over after the Crimson Combine and rooted on the boys against Vandy, props to you. I'm sad I didn't get to, but it was a great turnout. It was packed. And Friday night's game, Toby Rowland broadcasted live from section 405, which is the news section out in right field, and that looked like a really good time. If you missed any of those photos or anything, Toby posted something on his social media. He's at Sooner Voice on Instagram, and it was just really cool to see him and the interactions he had with the fans out there, and he had a great time doing that. Our volleyball team just released their conference schedule for the fall starting at the end of September, so you can find those again on social media or at Soonersports.com. They will release their entire schedule, including the non-conference schedule, and we will find that out at a later date, but for now, conference schedule's out if you want to check that out. And I wanted to give a little shout out to Lydia Martin. She is a former OU OU volleyball player. She has now gone pro with the Indy Ignite. And I had messaged her and was like, hey, I would love to have you on the pod sometime. Just let me know if you're interested. And she said, I would love to come on the pod, but they are going into their championship part of the season. And so she's going to be a little tied up for another month or so. So we're going to touch base in about a month or so and hopefully try to connect with Lydia. But if you don't follow her on social media, you should look her up. Indy Ignite is the volleyball team that she plays for. It is so fun to watch. Since I've started doing the podcast, I've really tried to keep my eye on those athletes and those sports that often get overlooked or just don't get the attention that they deserve. And volleyball is one of those. And I've just tried to invest myself in following those athletes and seeing what they're doing and where they're going and how the team is doing and just following them and becoming familiar with the players. And it's been so cool to see. And I watched Lydia when I first started the podcast, started following. I watched her, get the call and get drafted to this Indy team and start playing with them. So I've seen a few clips over her season with them, and it's just really cool. So I'm really hoping it works out to have Lydia on the show here in another month or so. But if you are a volleyball fan or just wanting to involve yourself with those more low-key sports that don't get a lot of attention, I highly recommend give her a follow on social media and check out the volleyball schedule for our Sooner ladies that start later this fall. Track and field did not have a meet this week. They are back on the road next week in Texas. Our rowing is headed to Florida for the Big Ten Invite next weekend. Our tennis women have won 5 matches in a row. They have Senior Sunday today. Again, I'm recording before the results of that have been finished, but they do have the SEC Championship later this week. Our men lost at Vandy yesterday on the road, and they also have the SEC Championship on the road later this week. So be checking social media to follow those sweet guys and gals of our tennis team who start the SEC tournament later this week. For golf, our women took home 5th place in the Liz Murphy Collegiate Classic, and our individual golfer, Audrey Risher, took home the title at the tournament this past week. And up next, they have the SEC Championship, which begins on the 14th. So by the time this drops, that will already be in progress. And so a lot of these spring sports are nearing the end of their seasons. Track and field, tennis, golf, even rowing. So if you are wanting to keep up with those teams, it's not too late. They still have their postseason runs coming up. And so I hope that you will go and follow these teams on social media and just give them a shout, give them a follow, and just keep up with them as they go through their postseason, because it's going to be entertaining to see how far they all go in their postseason. And we're wishing them all the best of luck, including our men's golf team. They are in the hunt right now for a team and an individual title at the Aggie Invitational. They were in 2nd place when I looked before I started recording, but again, that's still in progress as I am recording this on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So I'm going to end today's show with not one, but 2 Sooner fun facts. And I have to share the first one. I did share it on social media earlier this week, but it was just too good not to throw in here on the permanent record on the recording. But on Wednesday, April 9th, that was my birthday, Bedlam softball day. And this was the Sooner fun fact on my calendar for the day for that Wednesday. It was on this day in 1975, the OU softball team collected its first ever victory in program history, and it earned a win over, you guessed it, Oklahoma State. I just thought that was too funny that their first ever win was against OSU on April the 9th in 1975, and then we turned around and beat them again in a walk-off run rule win for my birthday in 2025. Can't beat it, people. Can't beat it. And for my official Sooner Girl Sports Pod fun fact of the week, the Sooner wrestling team was the first program in OU athletics history to win a national championship, and they did so in 1936. So I would like to thank you guys so much for pressing play and listening to the pod today. Thank you so much for all of your support on social media and for listening to the pod. And I do encourage you to download each episode and listen to it. Be sure to leave me a 5-star review. You can do that on Apple, Spotify, and on Facebook. Please, those help me so much get seen and noticed. And if you do not follow me on social media, again, you can find me at Sooner Girl Pod across all social media. You can find everything linked, my my podcast apps, social media. I even have merch available. My Substack, where you can have updates delivered directly to your inbox for free. I also do have the locker room, which is available for girls for only $5 a month. We have a super fun chat in the Substack app, a chat on Instagram. We have monthly online meetings. I do giveaways for that group only. We are working on doing an in-person gathering this summer. So all of that information can be found on my Linktree, which I will link in the show notes. And so be sure and check out my Linktree for all of those links, for all of the information. And again, I just appreciate everyone so much. If you enjoy this podcast, please be sure to download and subscribe and share with a friend, invite a friend, help me build my following. I'm trying to reach 100 on YouTube, so if you do not follow me on YouTube, please go and give me a follow and invite a friend to do so. So Boomer Sooner, everybody. Cheer like a champion this week. We've got lots going on, and I will see you next Wednesday where we talk sports.